Hello, everyone. This is the Earful Tower podcast. My name is Oliver G. Welcome to a show about Paris, a show about France. My attempt to figure out this country, and a big part of figuring out France is understanding, perhaps accepting, that they do movies a little bit differently here. What am I talking about? I'm talking about dubbing. If you've ever switched on a television set in France, you'll see that American and Australian and British movies and TV shows are dubbed. And it's the same thing with movies. And I never really knew much about this, and I always had wanted to understand more. So I figured, who should I talk to about it? And I figured the best person to talk to would be someone who gives the voice to one of the A-listers from Hollywood. And lucky for us all, we've got Brad Pitt. But not just Brad Pitt. We got Keanu Reeves, Ethan Hawke, Michael Fassbender, sometimes even Ben Affleck. And they're all voiced by the same gentleman. His name is Jean-Pierre Michael. He's a French actor. He's not just a voice actor, he's an actor. You're going to hear all about it. And he answers my many, many questions about the world of dubbing. And it goes way deeper than I thought. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you find yourself sitting there, smiling, nodding, thinking that you're learning something, do me two favors. One is tell your friends about the show. Send it to your friends. Say, check this out. This is pretty cool. The other is follow Jean-Pierre Michael on Instagram. You'll hear us talking about it in the middle. I think it's always kind of funny when we do this. His name on Instagram is JPM Officiel, OFFICIEL. And if you do follow him, find a recent picture. Hey, maybe he'll put up a picture of him and I, and put a comment on there with the emoji that you hear us mention halfway through. It'll trip him out, and my thanks for that will be that you'll hear him doing his Brad Pitt voice halfway through, talking about exactly this. You'll see what I mean. I'll be back at the end with some words from a listener in Alabama. And lastly, as always, thank you to the Patreon members. Without you guys, this show wouldn't exist, or it would, and it would be filled with horrible ads. So thanks, patrons. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's get on with the episode. Jean-Pierre Michael. Easier in English, Michael.
Yes.
Right? What do you prefer?
Oh, I don't mind about Jean-Pierre Michael for English people.
Well, it's funny because it's a very relevant question, because what we're going to be talking about is language, yes. Dubbing, English, French. It's probably something that you think about a lot, the whole mix between the languages.
No, I don't. But first of all, let me apologize for my English. It's not that good, and I may miss some words because I can understand it, but I don't practice it that much.
I think your English is fantastic.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, if we were doing this podcast in French, it would be a very sorry, very sorry story. No, your English is great, and I'm really glad that you taking the time to chat to me today, because I could easily do 500 questions in a row about your job and what you do.
Let's go, first one.
Well, the first one, actually, I have your Wikipedia page up.
Yes.
When we were talking about your name just now. We've got the same birthday.
You sure? Really?
Not the same year, but the same date.
The same day.
21st of September?
You're a Virgo.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I don't feel like I meet many 21st of September.
No, I don't either.
It's a good birthday.
Yes, it's
you
a nice one. I adore it. That's the day of fall.
Yeah, except in Australia, where I'm from, they start the seasons on the first day of September, for example. And it's not fall either, it's spring.
No, it's spring for you, of course.
So it's upside down.
Yes.
Different cultures.
I've never been there.
Not yet.
No, not yet, but I hope one time I will.
Me too.
It's such a beautiful country when I see that on photos, on pictures.
But it is a long way away.
It's a long way.
Yeah. Don't remind me. But what I want to talk about, speaking about different cultures, I think I really want to get into the whole the nitty-gritty behind the scene. But first, for a sort of overview, I mentioned Australia. In Australia, we don't dub films at all. Not that I ever saw growing up. In France, it's very, very common. Can you, from your perspective, just give us all, there'll be people listening who've never seen a TV in France. They don't know how prevalent it is that dubbing is such a thing. That's the norm, isn't it?
Yes. It's about now 90% of the films are so in French.
Yeah.
It was much higher number when it began. Films have always been dubbed in France. It's been 99%.
Yeah.
You couldn't see like we say VO original version films in France before.
And you're talking cinema and TV?
Yes.
Or?
And TV, that was 100%. Anyway, but sometimes in Paris you had a cinema where you could watch the film in original language on the 70s, but not before.
Yeah. And now, though, I think...
And now you get some more, and well, you get the platforms when you can switch the voices.
Yeah.
So you have the choice now.
Yeah.
But you didn't at the time.
Right. So it sounds to me, you said 99%, then 90%. It feels like maybe it's going down? Or?
Yes, it's going down, but that's because people now learn English. Yeah. They didn't. I learned English at school, but my English was so poor.
Right.
We didn't have a nice education for languages like Swedish have. Like I'm not sure about Italians or other European countries, but I know the North.
Definitely,
they do speak English much better than we. And when you walk in Paris now, because of tourism, you get some people talking more and more English. But when I was young, we were very, very little number of people talking English and understand English.
It feels like it's changing a lot, even in the years that I've been here. Yeah.
That's because of the internet, I think.
And the internet's probably had a big effect on your job as well.
Sure.
But first, do you feel like as English becomes more popular in your industry, I don't know if you're friends with a lot of the people who do what you do, is there a feeling of, oh God, if everyone speaks English, we won't have a job?
Oh no, not at all.
No.
It's not more popular. It's a choice that's now offered. Mm-hmm. So people have the choice to see that in French or in English. Mm-hmm. And some people don't want to see movies in English because they have to read.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you read, you're not in the picture. You're not looking at what's happening. You're reading. So your mind is blocked over another functionality, and you don't receive the video and the movement the same way. You don't see the special effects. You don't see everything. You're concentrated, and people don't want that.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they want just to see a movie and receive what's on the screen. So most of the people that watch original version are people that already talk a nice English, or at least understand, but are not able to follow everything. So they need the support of the subtitles.
Yeah.
Or they are more interested in the actual acting of the actors they love.
Yeah.
So that's kind of elitism to watch a film in the original version for now.
It's a form of elitism to say, I'll watch it in English.
And less because the youngest now, they have a better education for English. So most of the time, when they're kids, they can just watch Netflix, and sometimes they switch.
Yeah, sure.
That depends on the level of fainéantise.
That's a new one for
bravery.
Right.
You see, are you strong enough to want to learn and watch a film in English when you're a kid?
Yeah. Wow.
Because you don't know English yet. We began now to learn English on the preschool, but it's been 10 years. Before that was on high school, not before.
Wow, things are changing. But what I think, because I never watched dubbed films, basically, really, I mean, I don't even think I saw one until I was an adult. When I first started seeing them, when I came to Europe, I found it very difficult to see the mouth moving differently to what was being said.
Because you see that?
I can't help but but also I think maybe because I work with making audio and YouTube videos and stuff, when things are out of sync, it's stronger for me perhaps because I think, oh gosh, the audio is not perfect.
Or you watch bad dubbing. That also exists.
Okay, so what do you do to make a good dubbed?
That's dubbing is a long that's a long string that becomes from the translation, and then parallel to that, what we call detection. That's the labials, the way the mouth moves.
Yeah.
And each time the mouth closes, you have to have a B or a P or a F, something like that. And then when you have those two parameters, you have to synchronize it.
Interesting.
So you have to take a word that got a B when the English actor makes a B or a P or closes his mouth. So that's when you have a good detector and a good detection. When you have a nice text and a nice translation, you have a good dubbing if you have good actors behind.
Yeah.
But sometimes from the start, it's not done the right way.
Well, someone told me the other day that they were watching a like a reality TV show. I can't remember what.
Oh no! Don't watch that. They don't have time. They just do voiceover.
Well, that's the thing. And they said that there was a voiceover, but the original English was in the background, and because they spoke English and French, they could not understand because they kept picking up the English in the background.
Yes, of course.
So okay, so for TV they're doing it lazy, whereas film they take it a lot more seriously.
Sure.
Okay, well that brings us to film, and this is where I want to be because I've got a lot of questions. Firstly, you're Brad Pitt.
I'm not. I'm Jean-Pierre.
You're the voice of Brad Pitt.
Yes.
And I was looking it up. You've done many of his movies.
Yes.
Is there a reason that you got? I can only assume that that's one of the actors that people want, if nothing else, because you get more work, right? You want to be a Hollywood A-lister, or was it? Did you have to fight to be him, or did it just come to you? Or
it just came to me.
Okay.
I began on the theater. I was at the Comédie Française, which is the national theater in France.
And that's like hugely respected, the Comédie Française.
That's a nice, enormous one. Like that, we compare to the Shakespeare Company.
Okay.
But we are the national French theater, and we play all the classics, and we create new plays too. But that's a thing. We there's a lot of money engaged, and we can make great productions, and that's really a formation, an incredible education that was for me. I've been there 17 years.
Wow.
And I've played more than 50 plays in 17 years. That means almost 3 per year.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible.
Yes, that was around more than 200 evenings per year. Jeez. On stage.
And when you walk in there, if you were to walk in there today, is it all at the in the first arrondissement right there? Yeah, what's that called? Is that called the Comédie Française? Okay, so if you walked in there today, you and I walked past, would they be like, "Hey, Jean-Pierre, hey"?
Yes, I got some friends here.
You got like a hero's welcome when you're there?
Sure.
Oh, we should go there one day. I've never been inside.
Oh, you know?
No, not yet.
You haven't been?
It's high on my list.
Oh, yes, that's such a nice place.
The problem is they don't dub into English for me, so I can't understand.
No. They don't?
I don't think so.
They used to.
Did they?
When I played, but that was after, at the Théâtre Montparnasse, they have a dubbing. We were playing during August. So there's a lot of tourists.
What do you mean, like you put earphones?
No, that's subtitles
on the
or surtitles.
Surtext. Yes, I saw one of them once.
Yes.
Anyway, I took you off.
That's another.
Yeah, we went a different way. So you've got a celebrated background in theater.
Yes, and I've been called to a casting for voice, and I always loved voice work. I always loved voices. You know. When I was a kid, I watched, like you, I imagine, all the Disneys, all the animations. And that's something that gets in you when you're a kid. So you remember the sensations, the emotions, and it comes through the voices. It comes through the sound, the music. And when later I met some of those voices, that was such an emotion and moving for me. That's because I was very impressed. And voice is one of the most impressive thing in the mind of people, more than the picture itself. Because you can, and we are the proof of that, you can just hear a film. You cannot just watch a film without sound and voices. You can cut the picture and you still understand what happens. You cannot cut the sound and just watch images. It will be boring.
Interesting.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Emotion is not through the image. Emotion is both, but mostly through the sound and the voices.
Right.
That's why podcasts today are a great thing.
There's probably a lot of people listening to us right now around the world going, yep, he's right.
And they're right.
Yeah.
It's true.
No, you're right.
Because your mind goes into a fantasy and you imagine things, and the sound, you see the drill we hear over there.
I was wondering if people could hear that drill.
Yes, of course. And you can hear that, and you can imagine things all over you. So I always loved voices, and I was called for that casting. I went there, and I remember the test was perhaps Dirty Dancing at the time. What time was that?
Dirty Dancing was like 80s.
That was in the 80s.
I feel like it was
that's
88.
Not this one.
Do you want me to look it up?
No, that's not this one.
Okay.
I began in 1995 or 4.
Okay.
That
but
was
Brad Pitt
one.
wasn't in Dirty Dancing, was he?
No, he wasn't. No, but that was not for Brad Pitt.
I see, okay.
That was just for a test.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any news after that for 6 months. And they called me back for a small part. That was in a studio in the 18th, the 18th arrondissement. And it went well. So Brad Pitt was not the star he is now. At that time in 1995, he was some kind of star, a growing star.
Yeah.
And he was doing that film with Harrison Ford, Devil's Own.
The Devil's Own, yeah.
You remember this one? So they asked me if I wanted to do this. I said, well, why not?
And were you like, I'll be Harrison, not this new Brad guy?
No, but I met the voice of Harrison Ford, which I saw before in Indiana Jones and other films that when I was a teenager make me dream. So that was very impressive for me. That was the first time I met one of those voices. And Brad Pitt didn't have at that time a voice, a particular voice definite.
Yeah.
And
when you say that, do you mean in France? Like he didn't
France,
have. Okay, so no one was Mr. Brad Pitt here.
No.
Okay.
So I did this one like other did before for other Brad Pitt films.
Yeah.
And just after that, they asked me because they were very happy, the clients. I don't remember Warner or Sony or which one, whatever. Yeah. They called me back for another film of Brad Pitt and another film.
I see.
And when you began to be on this kind of movie that people remember, your voice become attached to that face. Yeah. And naturally, you are going to become the voice of.
Sure. Well, what would happen if a new Brad Pitt movie comes out today, Ocean's 95 or whatever we're up to right now, and they give the job of Brad Pitt to somebody else?
That happened.
That did happen?
It did.
Which movie?
That was for the Tarantino one, the first one.
Inglourious Basterds?
Yes, Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
I haven't been called for this one.
Right.
Because I don't know why. The guy who decided about the dubbing wanted to change. So they changed for the YouTube trailer. And they had about thousands of messages under the video telling, what's that shit, what's this voice, it's not Brad Pitt, I won't go to see this movie.
That's amazing.
Yes, it was incredible. And they called me back and said, I'm sorry, could you please redo the film?
That's fascinating. Wow.
Because I said before, I won't do this at the normal price. I want a price for this movie. And they refused. So that's why they hired someone else.
So they figured that you were asking too much and they could get anyone to do Brad Pitt.
Not even too much. They just wanted to pay the standard price.
Wow. So that's really interesting, but it also makes me wonder, in that film, I remember Brad Pitt is doing a very different accent to what he usually uses in, like, let's say Ocean's 11. If I remember correctly, he's sort of doing a sort of, I can't really remember, like a deep Southern.
Yes, I think that's a Texan accent.
Texan, maybe, yeah. So when that happens, do you guys have to take that on board?
No, we can't.
You can't? You don't have to, or you don't want to? Or?
No, that's not the problem, because here in France we have accents.
Yeah.
We have southern accents, northern accents, but when you take an accent in France, you sound funny.
Really?
It's not legitimate. It's just that guy comes from that place. He's not. He's acting funny.
So it would be like a comedy then if you change it.
Right.
Like Bienvenue chez les Ch'tis.
Exactly.
Like that. Okay. Which, by the way, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's about the character goes to the north of France.
From south to north.
And can't figure out what everyone's saying, and that's the whole premise of the movie, basically.
Right.
So it does. I didn't know that. So you can't.
You cannot take an accent in France, a particular and pronounced accent, unless you want it to be funny and on a comedy.
Wow. Because it's so different in English, because it's not just different states in America. People do Scottish.
Yes, you get Irish, you get Welsh, you get Australian, you get everything.
Often the Australian ones are done very badly, by the way. It's kind of a famous thing that no one can do a good Australian accent. It's very regular that someone does it badly. And Australians often do bad foreign accents too. Like, I'm thinking Mel Gibson in Braveheart is famous. Anyway, I'm off topic. Back to Brad Pitt. So you just essentially, because Brad Pitt's done other movies where he's done different.
All the time.
In Snatch, he did it.
Well,
you did that
in the first one, in Devil's Own, he's got an Irish accent.
Now I remember Devil's Own. It's where he's the IRA.
Yes, right. There's an IRA terrorist.
That's right. Oh, I watched that fairly recently. Okay, so he was doing an Irish accent. He also does a really, I think, a bad Austrian accent in 7 Years in Tibet. Is it Austrian?
Yes, right.
I remember when I watched it.
He loves that. He loves doing accents.
Really? Because I remember watching it, I put it on, and I was like, oh, Brad's doing an accent. And he started saying, I need to go to the Himalayas. And I was like, oh, no, Brad, I don't think I can watch this movie. But when you're watching that, are you going...
And he did the same in Allied. You remember
Which
that
one?
movie? Allied.
I don't remember that one.
That was 5 years ago, I think, with Marion Cotillard, the French.
I think I missed that one.
And he's supposed to be a spy, an English spy, coming to France and learning to speak French without any accent.
Okay.
So he tries to speak French.
I haven't seen that movie.
That's just, you cannot understand one word of what he's saying.
But then you're doing all these movies in the same voice then?
Yes,
always. So that takes away a little bit, perhaps. But
that,
then again, if French people...
No, you mean from the perspective of understanding what happens?
Not the understanding. I'm thinking, like, when I watch 7 Years in Tibet, or can't watch it, I'm thinking, well, Brad's playing an Austrian guy here, which is cool because it's... I don't remember the movie, but it's set in Austria, let's say. Well, I guess it's set in Tibet, but with an Austrian man. But when a French person watches your version, they're never going to be thinking about that extra stuff.
No, but, dubbing is always a treason. But you understand and you know that this guy is Australian.
Yeah.
You don't fantasize about him being French, and he's from the Nazi party, and the story is told, whatever happens. So that's some kind of convention. And of course, we are traitors of the original all the time. But the convention allows us to understand without questioning anything. So that's not really a problem.
It's a different approach. It's very fascinating to think about. What about when you decided to be Brad Pitt, or when you went in for the reading? Did you use the same voice you use when you're acting, when you're speaking and ordering groceries? Or
sure.
So you've got the exact same voice?
I get the exact same voice for all the actors that have. That
was my next question, because you also do Keanu Reeves, you do Ben Affleck as well,
Ben Affleck.
I had the whole list of stuff.
Jude Law.
Yeah, Jude Law and Fassbender. You did Fassbender. But you're always
Timothy Oliphant.
So you're doing them all in the same voice.
The same voice. The only difference is the acting they do. And when you act, you get a rhythm, your own rhythm.
Yeah.
Your own, the way you push on word.
Right.
The way you make pauses or not, the way you speak fast and sharp, or the way you speak laid back.
So you do. So you. Get
so I follow that.
Yeah, you're into the character, but
Yes.
not okay. So because obviously when you're doing Neo in the Matrix, it's going to be very different from a Austrian Himalaya climber.
And as you see, Keanu Reeves has some kind of playing that it's not the same as Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
It's very different. The way he talks, the way he moves, it's some kind of a very rough way of talking.
Yeah. Although he does comedies as well, doesn't he?
Sure,
Yeah.
but he plays the same.
It's true.
That's the same actor.
I think he's in Paris right now.
Yes, I know. I'd like to meet him. I don't know how to meet him.
I bet that's what everybody asks you if you've met.
I've never met any of them.
No.
No.
Boring question then.
Yes.
We won't
I
leave.
cannot. I'm sorry. I cannot.
No.
But I know he's not far from here. He's in Montmartre, so maybe I should go there.
I'm
and
sure
find
they would
him.
love to meet their.
I don't know.
I think so.
You know, they get about 70 dubbers around the world coming over the voices, so I'm not sure that...
It reminds me of when an author gets their book translated into a language they don't speak, let's say Polish or whatever. They often will share on their social media, oh, look, here's my book in Polish now. You know, there's a kind of a cool thing about it.
I'd love that. That would bring my Instagram a bit up.
Hey, we can bring your Instagram up. What's your name on
please.
Instagram? What is it? What is it?
That's JPM Official.
JPM Officiel. OFFICIEL.
Right.
I'll link to it. I guarantee you we'll get some new fun. We can have some fun with it. Let's have some fun with it right now. If you're listening and you want to bring a smile to both my face and Jean-Pierre here, put in your comment on one of his recent pictures an emoji with an animal in it. Just an animal.
A mic?
An animal. Let them be creative. Okay. Everybody bombard him so that he knows people are listening. Enough of that, though. Enough of the animals, but do it. Do it, everybody. I'm interested in a typical person going to the cinema in France and they're watching, let's say, The Matrix or whatever, and then they hear Neo start talking, Keanu Reeves. Do they go, hang on, that's Brad Pitt's voice? Or do they not make that connection?
No, they don't.
That seems...
some of them do, of course. People, there are very different sensitivities about voices and about the sound. So people recognize voices immediately, and some don't even dare about what's happening. They just have the sensation. But when they hear another voice than the one they are used to, they get crazy.
Yeah.
Because they can't get in the film anymore.
Yeah.
It's shocking for them. It's like just if you see Keanu Reeves with another voice.
Yeah.
The real one.
Yeah.
So it's very disturbing.
Yeah. It's a glitch in the Matrix. Yes. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Or it's like when you see someone who's been married to someone else for a long time, they get divorced, they're with their new partner. Yes. You're like, hang on, whoa.
Yeah, there's a problem here.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
So I'm also interested if, for the people at home, I don't know if I can ask you to act, but can we hear your voice talking French about anything? Maybe I give you a scene and you can improvise.
In French?
Yeah, so we can imagine what Brad Pitt and Keanu Reeves sounds like. How about this? What kind of mood do you want?
Whatever.
Okay, you can do anything. How about this? You're Brad Pitt, but also Keanu Reeves and yourself, and you can't understand why your phone is full of animal emojis all of a sudden. You forgot about this interview. You turn on your phone. You're perplexed and irritated. Can I hear you speak French like that?
Mais qu'est-ce que c'est que ce bordel? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Regarde ça, mon compte Instagram, il y a plein d'émojis avec des animaux maintenant dessus. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? J'ai jamais vu ça, enfin. Attends, ce sont des gens d'où? Des États-Unis? Mais je les connais pas, ils me connaissent pas. D'où est-ce qu'ils viennent s'abonner à moi tout d'un coup comme ça?
Okay, I'm with it. I can see you're an actor. I can feel it. I felt like I was sitting with Brad Pitt and Michael Fassbender and Keanu Reeves all in the same moment. You mentioned before we started recording that there was also this... like lots of forums, the internet, people streaming movies and stuff. And I asked you right before we got started if that's going to change the game, if that's going to lose jobs for people in your industry. And you seem pretty adamant about your answer.
Yes, I'm sure it won't.
Yeah.
Because people here in France are used to dubbing, so they cannot watch film like I told you with subtitles now, and they are eager to see movies without worrying about reading. Sometimes people don't read that well, you know. I'm not talking about cities where people are well educated, but sometimes ordinary people, without any negative projection, but ordinary people don't read that much, even books, and they are not used to read on TV, so they much prefer French and watch the film, doing something else, watching it, and don't have to read and to be concentrated on something that are not used to. So I'm sure it won't be a problem later.
That, you know what?
The only problem that might happen is the quality of the dubbing, because now things are going faster and faster. There's so much content coming from the platforms, and we have to record things much faster than before. Before we had to, when dubbing began, it was like the old movie, what you call that, the bobbins?
Like the reels.
The reels. Yeah. We had reels before, so we have someone just specialized for that, putting reels, just synchronizing it. That was 15 minutes just to begin to record one thing. Wow. And then wait and wait and wait. So the dubbing of a film could take 3 weeks. It now takes 2 days or 3 days. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because now it's all computed, incrusted in the TV, and you do that. Before we recorded in front of the movie theater. Yeah. Just like you were seeing the movie. Yeah. Now we are almost in front of a TV, or sometimes for big projects in front of a screen. But when you see the screen now, it's all protected from piracy, with black and white, no special effects, really? Names tagged in between, just the mouth showing. And
really?
Oh yes, that's crazy now.
That is insane. But you do watch. Like, because you have to watch, you can't just read a script and then they plug it together.
I don't read the script, never. And the problem is, for The Matrix now, we are going to record very soon. Yeah. For example, I know that I won't see anything.
So how do you do it then? What's the process?
I asked Warner, and I'll have a private projection for me before to watch The Matrix 4. And then I can record with the bad conditions, but at least I know what happens.
So you'll get to watch it probably ahead of everybody else in the country?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, really? Okay. I'm free tomorrow. If you so then you're going to watch it. You're going to watch it in English.
Yes, pure English.
And then the next day they'll tell you what to say. So you'll have a script like at the bottom of the TV, or like how?
Yes, that's just like karaoke.
Yeah, karaoke. Yeah.
So you get the lines coming. Yeah. With what you call that, a bar,
like a meter to tell you when it's coming.
Yes,
or whatever. Yeah,
just like in karaoke. Yeah, and the lines come and you talk just over the slides.
And then there's a director saying, more energy or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Okay, wow. You know what? I want to just say something before I forget. I'd never thought about that point you made about a lot of people maybe don't read so much and subtitles can be hard for them. In an intriguing reverse, perhaps in the English language culture, it's an elitist thing to prefer subtitles, just like how you were saying French people who prefer to watch the...
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Because they want to watch the original version.
Yeah, never thought about that before. Learning so much.
This way, I know that in New York, you get 1 or 2 cinemas that do original version, like French films, in French with the subtitles.
Yeah. But they don't.
But it's not all over the US.
Yeah, interesting. We're running out of time. It happens
already.
It happens always. Yeah. But I thought it could be fun for people. Maybe the people out there who speak French or who are learning French and fancy watching a dubbed French film. Could you recommend one that you were in that you were particularly proud of for everybody to go and check out?
Well, the one that went on TV on Sunday, that Ad Astra with Brad Pitt, that was a nice one.
Was that the space one?
Yes.
Yeah.
but very contemplative, very... so you get a lot of voices. He speaks to himself. He narrates the events, and that was a very nice film.
Well, there's one for everybody to check out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wind things up. Jean-Pierre, merci beaucoup for your time. And I'm looking forward to... Oh, no, I had one more question. I'm glad I remembered this. Does it happen when you're buying a coffee or in the supermarket that people recognize your voice?
It might.
It might?
Not all the time.
No?
That's just what I told you. Some people recognize voices immediately, others don't.
So when they recognize, they don't necessarily go, I know you from the movies. They think that you're...
Sometimes I get people telling me, your voice is... Are you... Oh, no? Yeah. It sounds like...
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you are the voice of...
Do you say? Do you go, well, I'm...
Sure, yes.
Yeah, you explain it to them. Okay. And then what? Do they want to... Because... Do they want a picture with you or anything like that? Does that happen in France?
It happens, yes.
Yeah. That's cool. It's so weird. It's like my mind is blowing because this is all such a foreign concept for me. But from one man who uses his voice to another, thank you for sitting down and sharing the story.
Thank you, Oliver. It's been a pleasure.
No, the pleasure has been mine, and I look forward to catching your voice in a movie soon.
I hope so.
So there you have it, Jean-Pierre Michael, interesting guy. We had a great old chat, including after the microphone was turned off, which is always a good sign. As I said, follow him on Instagram, get the life of an actor in Paris, a voice actor. I'm just scrolling through now. He's got some interesting pictures and interesting friends. JPM Officiel. But that's enough about that. Let's end on a lovely review from someone calling himself Rob3369. That's not a very imaginative name, Rob. Rob could be a woman, could be a man. I'm guessing man. He says... 5-star review here. He says, the world needs this weekly Parisian optimism. Yes, share the optimism. I love it. He says, I've listened for about 3 years now and still look forward to every episode. Oh, wonderful. I'm an American who's fascinated by rich history, art, and personality of Paris. And in Oliver, I find a kindred, curious spirit. He asked the questions I might be embarrassed to ask, but had on my mind. Rob, you're not the first to say that to me. I like that. He has a friendliness about him that makes him approachable and fun. He finds extremely interesting people, like Jean-Pierre, I added that, not Rob, to interview, and generally turns Paris into a place accessible to a regular person from Alabama. Oh, Alabama. How I wish I went to Alabama on our big road trip around your country, Rob. We, by total chance, went all around the edge of Alabama and not into the state itself. Next time, he continues, I'm grateful for his willingness to find hidden gems and share his passion for the city. I strongly encourage everyone to consider also becoming a Patreon supporter. Thanks, Rob, as he really does make an effort for members. Thanks, Oliver and Lena, for sharing your adventures. Rob3369. And that's left on Apple Podcast. If you guys enjoy this show, leave a review. There have been 697 reviews so far. We should celebrate the 700th. See if you can get it. Someone, quick. Jean-Pierre, are you still listening? Maybe you could do it. No, but thank you there, Rob, for that review. I appreciate that a lot. And he's right. Everyone should consider becoming a Patreon supporter. And I'm going to tell you why. Because behind the scenes, I'm putting the finishing touches on my guide to Paris. If you're new around here, it's a PDF guide. I've updated it 5 times, kind of every year. And this year, you might think that it wouldn't be a very different guide because things have been closing down in Paris during the lockdowns. But this is the opposite. There are a lot of new additions because there's been a lot of restoration and renovation works on some pretty incredible buildings that I've visited, but I haven't perhaps talked about on the show, like the Musée Carnavalet, the Victor Hugo Museum, La Marine, the Hôtel de la Marine, Le Bourse. There's all these places that I've been, and I've sort of put a serious focus on those places for the guide. And when it's published, which will probably be within about a week, it will be free for Patreon members as a thank you. And for the rest of you, it'll be €20. So get it as a perk, or buy it, or ignore it, and keep listening to the show for free. But in that case, I do ask you to be the 698th reviewer and give me something to read. Lots of cool episodes coming up, so make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button or whatever, so it pops up on your phone and you'll be back next week. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.